Hi guys, welcome back to Fata Morgana. Today we're going to be seeing probably a really quite nice part of the story because we're going to be seeing how Jacopo turns from somebody who has a really positive connection to Morgana and surprisingly even has a thing for her, which is something I never expected. But yeah, we're going to be seeing how that turns to something that is really, really awful. I mean, I'm sorry, but what the hell happened to him? I really do wonder. And I mean, obviously, we could see from the beginning of the story the total regret. When I said the beginning of the story, I meant the beginning of when he tells his story. Well, not even him telling his story. When we see his story, we intrude on his life. Yeah, kind of in the beginning of that, you can just see how much regret he has for whatever has happened, and how little he wants to look back as well. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting, I think. Let's just do a bit of rereading firstly. I know, I just think this is hilarious considering that Jacopo is 10 years older. I mean, yeah, I suppose he saw something in her that he saw in nobody else. And let's be honest, Morgana is very unusual, but yeah, I can't really say I understand this much. Like, I would have thought maybe this would be more realistic if he was kind of loving Morgana kind of as, I don't know, like a father would a child, really. Not romantically. That was kind of the impression I was getting at the beginning. I like this. Stupid personal matters, you can't dismiss it like that. Oh god. Unoccupied. Yeah, no, I don't blame Morgana. I mean, I get that obviously Morgana doesn't want to listen to this, but let's be honest, it's better than any other life she has had beforehand. It really is. It's still not an environment a young kid should be surrounded by. But at least it's better than what happens, well, in the part of the story we're going to be beginning reading today when everything ends and ooh, damage is done by Yukimasa. Right. God, I feel really bad for Morgana. I mean, let's be honest, she's really quite socially deprived because I suppose, sure, she has had the opportunity to speak to people, but she's never really had the opportunity, if you ask me, to speak to somebody on a level that's equal to her. I get that all of these people are a lot older than her, but they feel like the most equal in terms of people that she would have ever experienced. But of course, she just can't really talk to them because she just doesn't have the skills. And I don't blame her. I don't. Let's be honest. If you were reading a visual novel, and actually I don't want to say anything, but let's be honest, most people reading visual novels don't. And if you do, good for you, but yeah, a lot of us don't. Oh my god, yeah, Maria throwing the fucking hell. I was wondering today, why was Maria made to be the mass manipulator in chapter 3? I really do wonder. This is a very relaxing theme song here. Theme song. BGM, let's say, or OST or whatever. Soundtrack. Well, OST and soundtrack are basically the same thing. Apart from OST obviously being official. Anyway. Yeah, God, he really wants Morgana to be as good as possible, as happy as possible. That's hilarious. Most romantic proposal ever. I don't think she was very comfortable at the with the atmosphere, so she just left. I don't blame her. I probably would have as well. Eventually. This line is so good. Oh, before what? Sex, obviously. I think something very different is going to be happening in 4 years. Don't get your hopes up. Yeah, totally. Yeah, this was interesting. Yeah. You could make good on it. Yeah, sure thing. like that. Do you know what? There are just a few things I need to close. There we go. This was not the kind of story you were hoping for. No way. Oh my god, so here we go. Right. Yeah, so look at the blood. Ironically, very, very similar to the blood in Morgana's story. I don't know if that was intentional or what. I don't get what this background is. I really don't understand. I mean, Morgana's story's background was obvious. A nun. I.e. kind of given the themes of saints. Well, Morgana being a saintess and also her mother being a saint. There's a lot to do with nuns and also obviously Morgana's jealousy to Pauline. But I don't get this. Jesus Christ. Jesus, oh my god. I mean, at least he didn't die a virgin, I suppose. Oh my god, this guy literally died while having sex with somebody, I think. Naked as well, Jesus Christ. Probably the most unpleasant and traumatic sight, and I am laughing about it. Yes, I am. Yeah, that's not very funny though. Yeah. Must be very, very unpleasant. I mean, what the fuck do you do in a situation like this? You just see all of your life and everything that you have known and everything that has defined you as a person just fall apart. I mean, how? I don't get how it must be so hard to even process any of this. But how did Jacopo survive though? That's my question. Fair enough, yeah. It is inescapable, and that's the most cruel thing. Everybody's in shock. It's cruel that this is true. What? I don't think... Yeah, I suppose. I mean... Yeah... Yeah. And then you see an absolute psychopath. Murder. Because he doesn't know any different. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Yeah, okay. Right. So this is... They're screaming. I thought they were screaming because they were being killed by Yukimasa, rather they're screaming because they're being taken away. Yeah, I forgot they were murdered in the carriage. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, people are absolutely horrible. that they just do it because, let's be honest, some of them probably do it because they enjoy it, but most people just do this to make a living. They ruin people's lives just so that they can, I don't know, feed their kids or something. Yeah, God. But you didn't find her and you didn't get her out, that's the point. Jesus Christ, yeah. To think about the fact that this was her birthday as well. I mean, God. Happy birthday. Now your entire life and everything you've ever known that was remotely good is going to come falling apart. It's just insane. It is nothing short of insane. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, what an ironic line, especially when you think about what will happen later on. What? Huh? That was the last thing I was expecting. That does make sense, though. Now we can realise why he survived this. So he just miraculously survived, I think. Fucking hell, there must be a sight that is nothing short of traumatic. Dude, how did this guy live? Oh, fuck, that's disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. And if anything, he couldn't be far more further away from a hero. Yeah. You were normal. Let's be honest. Being a hero is being somebody who is exceptional and somebody who is very abnormal. Most people are not heroes for that reason. But yeah, unfortunately, this is why sometimes being a hero is a really, really convenient thing, because it means you can not be totally affected by things like these. Well, I mean, you will still be affected, but you won't be affected as badly as you could have been. Yeah. 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 Oh, damn. I'm surprised there was even one survivor. I don't get how you weren't dead. Oh yeah, they've done their best. They really have. God. Also, they had bedding in times like these? What? What do you mean? I'm genuinely curious now. Yeah. Yeah, it's a kind of straw, tightly woven mats. Yeah. Definitely not the types of bed that we would have wanted to use in the modern day. No way. Yeah, I don't blame him. It must be. Yeah, it must be so different. Oh my god, that's the first thing she asks. Damn. Oh, right. So they have talked before. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Really? You'd really believe that? Yeah, I like that, yeah. Fair enough, you would have guards, like you do 4 years later. Isn't it interesting? Something like this, if you ask me, really gives an indication of what might happen soon. Yeah, true. When was the chance offered? I don't understand. I mean, sure, he is of royal blood, but at the same time, I mean, he's also just a peasant. And people are supposed to be fair if he used his claim to having royal blood quicker. Maybe he could have been able to get into power. But I'm sorry, that lord is a horrible man, and he hasn't exactly been a loving father to this person, so yeah. Dream on, basically. Yeah, yeah. Isn't it horrible, something like this? It's just interesting how little value titles like this hold when you just don't know somebody. Yeah, now I see why he's regretful. I suppose he just didn't believe it. Fair enough. Could you imagine if this is some sort of really twisted, I don't know, story that just shows a possible connection? I mean, technically, they are in the same building, so in a really, really loose sense, Morgana is still by Jacopo's side, but they couldn't be more distant even if you tried to make them. Let's be honest here. Yeah, and isn't it interesting? So I suppose he's been... Power is just the solution. It is the holy grail at the moment, and it's obviously the thing that promises everything. And it promises... Oh, I suppose you didn't have power now. You didn't have power before, so get power so that you can then prevent any further events from happening. Fair. I've heard of that before, Wattle and Dwarf. Just want to get a full perspective there. Damn. Yeah. These types of houses. God, imagine living in something like this. That would be so weird. Morgana's mother. Fair enough. Yeah, fair. It is really quite sad to think about the fact that these people have only been able to meet in such a late time period, because it seems like she is really quite kind. I mean, from this, I think that's definitely something that you can imply. Yeah. God, isn't that interesting? He's not the only person who thinks this. But the only thing is, I mean, he wouldn't have been in that kind of danger, but everybody he knows and cares about would have been. It's interesting that he thought this. Oh, yeah, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, so you can just kind of avoid that stigma of being somebody who has had a baby before being married. Interesting. Yeah, why were they separated? What? Isn't that interesting? Oh yeah, you're probably paying attention to every single word. But Jesus Christ, knowing that something like this has happened must be very, very scary. Let's be honest here. I mean, my God. The things some people will do for power, it never ceases to amaze me. It really doesn't. I mean, especially this. I mean, you're thinking of not only kidnapping somebody, but separating them from their mother just so that their legitimate right to the family name isn't found out. And I mean, I suppose he is an illegitimate child, but he is still somebody who was conceived by a family member. And yet this has to happen. I mean, it's awful, it really is. Fair. Yeah, it's interesting that he really is insisting that this is the case and that that she is somebody who has malicious intent and who is trying to use all of this as a setup. Claim your stake on. To be honest, it is interesting when we think about this because we don't actually... I mean, sure, she has a ring, but what if she's somebody the Lord has had a divorce with? Well, let's be honest, this is a Lord. I don't really think that's going to be likely. But, yeah, I suppose it could be somebody who has had a relationship with the Lord. Somebody who... That ring does speak wonders, but at the same time, what if it was stolen? I mean, sure, the ring could be proof that this is connected, but it doesn't necessarily. It could all just be one massive setup. But why? What would she have to gain from this setup, I wonder? I agree, I think this is true, but it doesn't imply that Jacopo is this person's mother. But to be fair though, this is my question. I don't really know how she would know that Jacopo has no mother. How would she know about this person whatsoever? Anyway, how would she know that this is her baby as well? That's a good question. Yeah. Realistic theory. And to be fair, isn't it ironic to think about the fact that the Lord does die in the end? Why? Well, this is the best answer, I think. We don't know. We don't know how old said child would be. We don't have enough information to know. From her part. Could you imagine if this person is his mother and this has all just been one massive misunderstanding? That must be painful. True. Yeah, I know. I mean, I really do wonder where this is going to go. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Okay. So now we're seeing her true colours, rather than the colours of somebody who wanted a favour. You bastard. Is this actually true? Yeah. I'm genuinely impressed. This is why you need to be so careful. Wow. Do you know what? Her manipulation could have so easily impacted Jacopo because it was something that he had been thinking as well. If only I had had the power to save Morgana, save myself, and just in general prevent all of this horrible incident. Well, not really prevent the horrible incident from happening, but prevent who you care about the most being hurt and delivering punishment on the people who have hurt them. Yeah, that's fair. Isn't that interesting? This person is a thief, let's be honest here. She was a servant, and then she stole something, and then it was probably blamed on her. I don't think they... It was probably blamed on her, maybe... Well, I mean, surely if it's a really valuable ring, she would not be alive at the moment. Maybe... No, I don't know why she would have been able to have that ring. No, maybe she... I think what she probably did is stole it and then worked for a significant amount of time after she had stolen it and then left, so that even though people had noticed it had been stolen, nobody had instantly left and there was no name you could put to a face. Or maybe what she did is... No, I don't know. I think she might have done that just so that there's no indication that it could have been her. Or maybe she could have left after and just faked some sort of excuse. Oh, my leg's now in really bad conditions and oh god, my knee hurts. I don't know, just something like that. I'm not physically able for the job. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Oh, and look at the increased amount of blood. Isn't it interesting that he uses this as a means of getting respect? Yeah. God. Isn't it interesting? You've always been poor and you've always had such a challenging life. And now, the more this challenge of getting power becomes accessible to you, the more you go and the more you want it to happen. But I want a question answered. Why did that woman want the revolution to happen, and why did she lead us into it? I mean, sure, the woman didn't want the Lord to be in power, but why? And also I want to ask the question of, is there going to be anything that might happen as a result of us having accepted the, not really the bribe, but the temptation? More like, what a horrible person, lying about the fact that she is Jacopo's mother. I mean, Jesus Christ, could you imagine if his actual mother saw that from beyond the grave and then also seeing how this has changed him. This has really, really changed him. Yeah, and he's going to lose all of his friends. He's just going to become totally totally well, self-obsessed. Fair enough. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose that kind of gives a motive. But the only thing is, the reason why I asked that question is, how do we know that that story is true? But I suppose that could explain the ring. I mean, either that story is true, I think it's realistic that that story's true, or it's not and this person is just a really, really skilled thief, which I think is unlikely given her age. No, you weren't whatsoever. You were just in it for yourself, and you were in it for getting a good life at the end of the day. Nobody will do it. Everybody hated Jesus Christ, so now he's become a murderer. Yes. You can't go back now. Oh, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. god. Yeah, totally. Yeah, offer improvements so that people respect and support your rule. Yeah. Interesting. Fair. God, look at how much more red the blood becomes. I do just quickly want to oh, which choice was it? I think it was, yeah. Oh, I love this theme. This theme is so good. I'm just really trying to figure out what this is. So there's obviously somebody holding something, somebody... Maybe this could be part of clothing. Maybe this could be, for example, robes or just something... I don't know, this just kind of looks like some sort of really big sleeve that you would... I don't know, notoriously see on something that costs a lot of money to be produced. I don't know, so I'm kind of thinking it's kind of like a rich person's piece of clothing, and then maybe that does kind of make sense when everything's more and more stained with blood because Jacopo's rule probably just becomes more and more hellish. But it's really interesting that the revolt has happened, and I suppose as a result of Jacopo, as a result of Jacopo ruling, that person gets revenge on the Lord for, well, that person is just yet another one of the people who have been treated awfully by the Lord. There are so many people who wanted him out, and now he is out, and Jacopo has to kind of get up to their expectations, otherwise, obviously, they won't be able to, well, his head might be on the spike next. Anyway, I'll just have a break. Well, I'm gonna go to bed now, but yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Right, okay. We are back now, and yeah, we're probably gonna see the last part of Jacopo's story unfold now, which is gonna be really, really exciting. I do wonder just how everything is going to totally change for the worse. I mean, as we can see here, there is definitely a change happening, and there is an indication that I was doing some thinking about this, and I think Jacopo has thought that politics, I don't know, just getting into being a person of power is the gold. It is just kind of the temptation. He's poor, he hasn't had any education, he doesn't know the actual weight of ruling. He's never ever done it before. And having to constantly look up to these expectations, it's awful. I mean, Jesus Christ. If you've ever heard about the Japanese kadoshi, which is death from overwork, this is just kind of what makes me think of stuff like that, if that makes sense. Yep. I've read about many horror stories about Japan and its work culture, to be honest. Yeah, so he just totally does the revolution as a means of helping Morgana. Yeah, totally reasonable. Everybody acknowledges it. But it also means a name to live up to, a very difficult name to live up to. Yeah, and isn't it interesting, he was just kind of really driven by this kind of childish and naive wish, and that kind of caused his decline in a way. And the worst thing about all of this is just the fact that I suppose it was such a nice expectation and such a good-willed expectation, and obviously as a result of that falling, I suppose he just becomes someone who is awful. I just really wonder how he changes, and especially what he thinks of Morgana, why he decides to do everything he does. Yeah, and the worst thing is, I mean, you never really see the good nature of people anymore. You just see people constantly trying to use you in the worst way possible just so that they can be convenienced. Yeah, totally, yeah. I know, and that's just awful. You just have nobody you can talk to. You're totally fighting everything alone in this case. Yeah, fair enough. Isn't it interesting that it just totally is, it's kind of like a positive feedback loop. You have power, and then you get the power, sorry, you have a will for power, then you get the power you've wanted, and then you want more power, and then you want more power, and then you want more and more and more. And it's for a totally understandable reason as well. Can I just mention that? Yeah, oh yeah, that is a good idea. And if I'm going to be honest, he's probably learned really quite quickly, even though he is somebody of a poor background, which is impressive. Yeah, that's interesting. Very controversial. I'm surprised he'd make a move like that. Typical. Yeah. So it's interesting that what he wants ultimately is to make an increase in an increase in his power and an increase in his influence. So what he is doing is he's bringing about economic development. So as a result of that, everyone else kind of feels as if they are being valued and feels as if they're being looked after. And that will increase the respect they have for the Lord. But in reality, he's not doing it for them. He's doing it for himself. Isn't it disgusting? It's just corruption. You have so much money and yet you're using it for parties rather than, I don't know, for example, repairing slums. Yep. There is a thing called social inequality. And that is a good example of it. And social disparity, stuff like that. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, it's kind of weird in a position like this because, of course, you have all this money, but at the same time, if you do the most, let's be honest, probably the most ethical thing and the most humanitarian-based thing, you'll decrease amounts of money you need for other services. Like, for example, you could invest all of your money in charity, but at the same time, that money could be spent on, I don't know, like social security costs or, I don't know, any essential service like healthcare. So you want to be ethical by helping the poor, but at the same time, that then means other really quite important services may not be able to be funded. So you've got to be really, really careful with how you budget things, and you can't prioritize something. Yeah, fair enough. Isn't that interesting? And I mean, you can definitely tell that there are a lot of people who have had controversy with Jacopo. I mean, Maria's the best example. They were best friends, and now what's happening? Oh, she wants to fucking kill him. Blood. Blood tells everything. It's not even blood, that's the funny thing. No, but the only thing is, I mean, like Maria was saying, he could have still hung out with them. He didn't have to take the money and go in the direction of money, but he did. But why was he doing that? For Morgana's sake and for the sake of somebody all of them care about. So I am actually quite surprised that they would contest it this much. But can I just mention, it's kind of impossible with this whole reputation thing because you've got to invest and budget money in ways that keeps the economy sustainable. But at the same time, if you don't invest in things, for example, things like slum clearance, not slum clearance, just in general, improving the quality of life and standard of living of poor people, then they are going to hate you because you have money and you're not spending it on them. And then, I suppose then, after that, there's going to be this bad reputation of you being a tyrant that is going to spread around and more people are going to be opposed to your rule. But if you did spend your money on them, then you might not be able to afford what you need to keep the economy going. I don't know. It's just, it really depends. Maybe he could have spent more on them. Maybe he couldn't have. Who knows? Like, who knows? We actually don't have enough information. Well, it doesn't necessarily look like that because of the financial decisions that you're making. Yeah, I know, that's the worst thing. It's kind of like school in a way. They only see what you are outputting. They don't care about the mindset of the person who is outputting said work. That's kind of what I feel like with school sometimes. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Nobody will understand him. Yeah, nobody he can trust as well. Yeah, and we can definitely see that. Unfortunately, in a world like this, let's be honest here, do you really? You have a name to hold up. And isn't it ironic to think about the fact that Jacopo's father in chapter 3 was an actual person who was related to him? I know, that's the most awful thing. Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. Yeah, fair enough. You don't even know what's happening to Morgana. You don't know where she is as well. Yeah. I mean, he felt as if he needed to climb to the top of the ladder beforehand. Oh, that's interesting. So the answers are in darker colours. But yeah, he did it beforehand just for Morgana, and he did it so that he could build a nice life and he could spend a good time with her. But it's just interesting how he's totally lost sight of his goals, and it does kind of make sense. But God, that's... If I'm going to be honest, that's why you really, really need to know everything about the job you were going into, because if you don't, and especially if you have a horrible employer, then yeah, shit like this happens. And he can't exactly get out of this position as well. That's the worst thing. Yeah, but it's interesting that he's kind of resorting to murder just because of how stressed he is. I suppose he's kind of losing the connections and the value that he once placed in these people as well, because he's just kind of viewing them as oppositions now rather than anyone of actual worth. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that accident must have really, really persuaded him. Fair enough, there's no stigma about him being poor. But the only thing is, obviously, he wasn't always rich, so there's always going to be something. Yeah, and isn't that interesting? So I suppose helping Morgana was an objective, but that's totally changed now. Yeah. So he's actually... Oh my god, yeah. So he's actually been able to rule for 4 years, which is quite impressive. My god, I really do wonder what he's thinking of this. Yeah, and then... Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it is a curious rumour. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, oh my god, I don't think he realises that this witch is Morgana. That's the worst thing. Yeah. I mean, the blood doesn't have special powers, but there is a thing called the placebo effect. Yeah, isn't that interesting? He doesn't know it's Morgana. I think that's the most exciting part. I wonder what he's going to think when he sees who it is. That's your worst mistake out of all of this, I think. Isn't it interesting? So the real reasons, it wasn't really for corruption, it was more for just an increase in power. I mean, it's not like he was getting all of this money, hoarding it for himself, and then just spending it on himself rather than spending it on the, well, on what it should be spent on. Because it is still being spent to improve, I suppose, the long-term economic future of the city, even if it's not really prioritising everybody and only prioritising the rich. I mean, I suppose it's good for the rich but bad for the poor in a sense. But yeah, I suppose now he's trying to look like he's less corrupt, and also, I suppose... I suppose it does kind of help that people may view him in a better light as a result of him pledging money to the church. He's very, very busy. He's probably always in work. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he is an upstanding citizen. Yeah, he's a bit of a psychopath from a description like that. Fair. True. Yeah, because of the fact that it totally benefits him, because Pauline is his tether, and that will encourage her to be with him, really. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Oh my god, I wonder when he is going to realise who this witch is. Because it's interesting, this mindset here, because it's a mindset that really could only be thought in kind of like an impersonal way, because he doesn't know this person. So obviously he doesn't think that the sacrifice of one person is something that bad. But firstly, it's not consensual, they don't want to do it. And secondly, even if you don't know who the person is, it's just wrong. And obviously when you learn who the person is, it just becomes even worse. Okay, it's interesting that, well, in an ideal world, yeah. Isn't it horrible to think about the fact, if he realised that this person was literally younger than him, 10 years younger, I wonder how he would have reinterpreted this. And also, what's interesting about all of this is, yeah, it's just the fact that you would use somebody like this just to increase the amount of tithes and obviously to stimulate the economy and ultimately improve your reputation. You would actually think of doing something like that. I mean, I get that the world is far from ideal, but at the same time, in a world that's a bit more ideal than this, he would realise how wrong that is. I mean, if it was an old woman as well, taking what little remained of their life is just wrong. I mean, they've lived life for a long time compared to everybody else, so surely they want to live the little time they have left in a good way, rather than the most unethical thing you could probably think of. Oh, she will. Yeah. Ultimately, it all stems down to one thing: you getting power. He obviously cares about the city, but he only cares about it so that he can increase the level of power that he has. Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, it's also our responsibility to stick a person who is a member of the sick and poor in an observation tower and torture her and just violate every single... Well, there were no human rights in times like these. What should I say? Well, just do every single illegal thing you could imagine. Ironic. Yeah, they were totally self-centered. I mean, I remember he built properties on people's land that they had had for years. Yeah. I mean, sure, you were, but... I mean, I suppose obviously what you were doing is ultimately going to offer a helping hand. Of course it will. It's interesting that he has that little bit of conscience left to think that he is doing that, but at the same time, look at what you were doing to this witch, who is not an old woman. She is very young. To be fair, everything does have a price, but at the same time, I mean, surely with some things the price should be too much to, I suppose, furtherly convince somebody to do it. Like, for example, this. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are right in the head who would not do something like this. Fair enough. That's actually really well put. Yeah. Reasonable. And it's very, very corrupt and really, really unequal. And you can definitely see it when you just when you kind of read the lives of people like this. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like that. Oh god. Isn't it interesting to think about the fact that no matter how much he changes, he will still think of Morgana? God, this next part is going to be a serious change. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, oh my god. I really do wonder if Morgana recognizes the voice. Yeah. That was not a mistake. Shut up. That's horrible. I mean, I suppose it was a mistake thinking that Mel was going to be able to bear with the thought of using Morgana's arm to give blood to Nelly. So I suppose it was a mistake. Technically. You definitely didn't smell like somebody who has no blood on you, though, I bet. And so doesn't whatever is inside the bag. True. True, isn't it interesting? Yeah. I suppose it kind of... Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, isn't it interesting? Is it going to be... I mean, obviously it will be the same regardless of who it is. I'm just really curious what the VN does when... I don't know what's going to happen when he realises and how it's going to be presented. I'm really excited for that. Yeah. Yeah. And then you realise that one person for an entire city is, well, just a little bit... Well, it's not very realistic. Yeah. She is the result of your unethical, horrible scheme. Well, no wonder she is so pale and shaking. I would be. I think anybody would be. Yeah. God. There's just that instant indication that he knows her. I'm happy they referenced that line. Yeah. I like that. All that time they had shared and all of the memories that they had been given. All for Morgana. Isn't it ironic to think about the fact that Morgana is the person that he kind of was motivated to go into power for, and now Morgana is also the person who is happening as a result of the scheme? Well, isn't it interesting? This just really gives you a lesson. Never do something that, if it was done to someone close to you, you would hate. Oh, isn't that interesting? Because Morgana thinks that Jacopo is the old lord. I'm actually really quite surprised. So I'd assume that Jacopo's voice and obviously way of speaking has changed so much that Morgana doesn't even recognise her. That must be so painful. Especially just the fact that there's an indication that she remembers the actual Jacopo, but no. Oh my god. That wasn't, no. Yeah! Yep, and he was so sadistic that he did this to a fucking 9-year-old as well. I mean, doing this to, I don't know, even like well, any age is bad, but it's just even more bad when you realise it was a kid. Yeah, fair enough. And isn't it interesting? You really see just the amount of hatred that Morgana has built up. I don't blame her. I mean, who would not think something like this? I mean, this is her childhood that has been totally affected by this one horrible man. Say that, man. Oh my god. But the only thing is, this is the worst thing. And this is why the world is so awful. Because Morgana and Yukimasa, Jacopo doesn't know what they would do with this information that is very, very classified. So you can't tell her, no matter how much you want to. And this is why you don't do what he did. Holy shit. Exactly. And that's why his situation is so fucking horrible. Seriously. Yeah. Very good question. I mean, let's be honest, if you're having to resort to doing something like this, then yeah, you can't help but question it. I think he probably started straying from that path when he realised just how difficult and how merciless everything was. Yeah. Yeah. Everything is totally covered with blood. Yeah. Very reasonable question. Just why? Yeah. Isn't it interesting to think about the fact that you really have this conflict internally just between which side he should pick? Yeah, you've built everything up for Morgana, but at the same time you choose the need to protect your current position, because I suppose if you don't protect said position, people don't like you. So if they realise, especially that you are not born into royalty and you're dishonest, then firstly you're going to be forced out, and secondly you're going to go back to poverty, and thirdly you're not going to have anybody to help you. And also, if that wasn't bad enough, then you're also going to have well, I suppose you're going to have just such a change of life. You might even die. Probably will. He's just too far down the path to go back, he feels. Yeah. Isn't that interesting that he didn't feel he could? You wanted power for her, and there is no denial about that. But the only thing that's so deadly is you're too far in to ever opt out. Yeah. To think about the fact that this was how it was 4 years ago. Yeah, very appropriately blood-stained image. But the only thing is, isn't it interesting to think about the fact that ultimately he was doing this for Morgana, but at the same time he still, in the end, chose himself rather than her. And I think that is just how much he has changed. It really, really is. Yeah, totally reasonable. That's really interesting. I suppose you summon the darkness by making him relive it, sure. Yeah. Oh, totally. You've just got all of these memories you've completely locked up. And isn't it interesting to think about the fact that when he chooses himself, he can never ever go back. And as a result of that, well, I mean, let's be honest, he couldn't have gone back without losing significant amounts of reputation, because he's probably made lots of deals. He's obviously assembled all of his troops, well, all of his pawns, if you like. And also, yeah, he was going to get the old woman. He didn't realise who it was. Even if he did, I just wonder what would have happened. Well, this whole story wouldn't have happened for a start. Oh, yeah. And as we can see from the beginning, he is driven mad by the past and just the madness of the terror that is associated with doing something as unethical and awful as this. True. It would be easier, but at the same time, if you want to truly help Morgana, can you do this? No. No way, it's like doing work. Force times distance. That's what I'm referring to, if you don't get it. His story is essential. Yeah, totally, yeah. Yeah. If I'm going to be honest, I really do wonder if Morgana not knowing who he really is a good thing. there really is the possibility that Morgana might not be able to take these stories and might not be able to accept these people, which I think in cases of people like Jacopo is totally reasonable. If anything, maybe it might be even worse when she realises. And let's be honest, she is totally traumatised. She has been given such bad conditions that she's killing herself, but she just doesn't have the drive. She just doesn't even have the emotion. Because she's just been living in such horrible conditions that she's lost the ability to feel and the ability to care for herself, even if she is facing starvation, which she is. She's literally being given food and yet she's not eating it just because of how much of a wreck she is. So you're really telling me that somebody like that is going to be able to be rescued, understood, and is going to understand people like this? I mean, I'm sorry, but I think it's just a bit ridiculous at the moment. I think Michel is he's thinking very, very ideally. I don't know how it's going to end up, though. Fair enough, yeah. Do you really think she's going to be able to have a change of heart, though? Isn't it interesting they're just totally consumed by his darkness, I suppose? Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Here we go. Michel knows. Fair enough. I mean, he was going to want to give said necklace to Morgana. Yeah, and it is interesting to think about the fact that Michel really does have similar powers to Morgana here. But I suppose Morgana's kind of a soul that is... I mean, the only thing is that kind of makes them differ is that Morgana is from the time period. But Michel isn't. He's from the future. But it's really weird that he kind of has Morgana's same powers, but is the opposite. Mm. That's interesting. But the only thing is the causes are very different, because this was just pure bad luck. But in chapter 3 it was the manipulation of Maria, which caused the white-haired girl to be locked up in a separate little cottage that's near the mansion. I love how we can just totally answer that question with an even better and more suitable question. Yeah. I really do wonder what could have happened. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Does that really matter? There was turning back. You could risk everything you have built up, but you could have turned back. And surely, to think about the fact that Morgana was such an important person to him, that would have been maybe a sensible idea. I love that Michelle just totally denies it. You don't really have the right to use that insult. I mean, you are quite literally a peasant yourself. Well, you were, but still. Yeah. Yeah, I like that's put so well. Fair enough. Really? Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and isn't it funny to think about the fact that he's desperately trying to think of a solution from the for the argument that doesn't make him look absolutely awful. Can he do it? No. Yeah, That's interesting. He doesn't know this. The Morgana that you know would never say any of that, sure. Isn't it interesting to think about the fact that Michelle is really, really trying to make a difference, but he is so emotionally charged and he just really, really can't bear what these people are doing and how they have done it, that he's just giving the most emotionally charged argument, and that's why it's so powerful, and you just really don't know what's going to happen sometimes. Is he? I wonder where Yukimasa got that thought from. Oh, yeah! Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it a coincidence that all of these people are here to help Morgana and yet they all have a connection? I mean, obviously the Lord's connection here, the fact that Morgana is the one in this conspiracy is by total chance, but still, all of them have connections. I mean, what are the chances of that? It really, really is low. Yeah. And isn't it ironic to think about the fact that Jacopo was one of the people? There is still time, that is fair, but that doesn't undo what Jacopo has done. Maybe he can make amends, but who knows? I still think it's a bit wishful thinking, to be honest, but maybe it can happen. Maybe it can. Yeah, true. True. trauma as well. Yeah, fully fair enough. Yeah. Really? What? Yeah, it's a bit late. Isn't it ironic to think about the fact that he may have actually been planning to free Morgana? That was not something I was expecting whatsoever. But, yeah, I suppose it was definitely too late, because obviously when Morgana would be free, well, when Jacopo would have ideally talked to her, she would be dead. And he was actually thinking of facing her and saying who he really was and saying why he is doing all of this. Nothing can be forgiven. Nothing. And yet he still wants to do it because he feels guilty, probably. Yeah. That's not very good, because during the Harvest Festival she is going to die. I think this is where Michelle pulls out the I can tell the future and I know everything card. That is interesting to think about that. But I suppose if you think about it from an economic point of view, she has made lots of money, and now I suppose the contribution that the contribution from the tithes that have been able to be given to the church has obviously been used in the city, and it has had a long-lasting impact, probably. And then I suppose then not much else would be needed. Or maybe it would be good as a complete and constant source of income. But obviously, even if this didn't happen on the Harvest Festival, death would have happened ultimately. But yeah. It's also really interesting that the city, Jacopo does everything to build up the city, and then after the curse breaks out, the city is just forgotten about. It's totally lost until probably hundreds of years later. Oh, I think it makes a difference that is a little bit significant. A little bit. Yeah. Oh, just wait until tomorrow then. Yeah. True. True. That is very, very true. Oh my god, me, I plan out everything. I am the most OCD organised person you will ever see. And there is actually rarely a time I'm not organised. Unless there's some sort of really anomalous mistake. But at the same time, if I'm going to be honest, the key to being good at organising stuff is to overwrite your plans if you need to. And also to look after yourself as well. Because if you organise stuff that forces unrealistic standards on yourself, you are going to fucking burn out and regret it. Yeah, but yeah, in this case, totally. True. And this is quite literally an example of that, of what Michelle was saying. I mean, if Jacopo doesn't instantly act, she will die. She will. It's not bullshit. She will. Yeah. It's interesting that he's playing that card. Yeah, I like that because he was going to wait before the day of the railroad fair or whatever it was. It was like it was an exhibition. Yeah, an exhibition. But she was dead. She had died a painful death, not just... Well, actually, no, she had walked away. She'd probably die in a bit, though, because let's be honest. She has barely anything. She has no willpower, as you can see in those last letters, just everything falling apart. I mean, she does have expensive clothes. If she really wanted to live, maybe she could have made some living, I don't know. It wouldn't be anything good, though, I don't know, like a prostitute or something. Probably the worst conditions of work you could possibly have. God, he really... Oh my god, he's not saying anything. God, Michelle really is shouting. Isn't it interesting? All of the authority in his voice just going, and Michelle really taking said authority. You have tortured somebody. You have put them in the worst possible conditions. You need to act instantly. He will. Damn. I just find it really interesting that Jacopo kind of has this tendency to... I suppose there's a big event that goes on, and I suppose he kind of feels like there is a big event, so as a result of that, to follow the big event, or during the big event, he needs to do this just because I suppose he'll have the... I suppose he'll have more of a buzz from the event. I don't know. It is really odd. It's a very weird habit. God, this is where everything has been going. What? Oh, right. Isn't that interesting, I suppose? Forcing yourself to keep up this delusion that you are this tyrannical lord. I mean, you're becoming one, sure, but yeah, it's just interesting. He doesn't want to reveal who he truly is just because it's too painful. It is genuinely just too painful. Fair enough. This is going to be an interesting answer. No, she properly kept it. Oh no, she wants you dead. Yeah. Yeah, maybe, but at the same time, if you were dead, then Morgana would never have been alive. And I'm sorry, but there are a few good things that have come off the Lord's rule. Like, for example, I mean, a good example is Pauline and how she's been able to dedicate herself to her life's work, even if it is an unhealthy and obsessive habit that she's forming to help people. Well, I mean, she wasn't really doing it for the work anyway. She was more just doing it as a means of proving to herself that she is going in the right direction in life. Yeah, fair enough. God. He's totally in regret. And I don't blame him. If he wasn't in regret, I think that is where we'd be worried. That's interesting. It's kind of, he's no longer able to cry because he just doesn't really... Well, it's just this constant mindset of being somebody in power, really. You can't show weaknesses or any indications of them to other people, and that's kind of what he might be subconsciously thinking here. Yeah, they shouldn't. So I suppose about their exchange, it's just the tones, obviously everything that was said, and Jacopo's immense guilt as well. God, he must feel so scared. God. Basically, everything that has built up is going to the unlocking of this door. Very fancy, my God. yeah, fair enough. Yeah. You have done everything you can. Yeah, what about Gazelle, really? I thought there was going to be some sort of indication of Gazelle being dead, but it doesn't look like there is. But just judging by what happened in the third key. Well, getting the third key from Jacopo. Yeah. He takes charge as well. You have changed the past, but just how much of an effect is it going to have? That's my question. In an ideal world. I mean, I suppose if you want to use Jacopo's logic, that is the scenario in an ideal world. The world is far from ideal in reality, so yeah, what truly is going to happen? I think that is a very good question to ask. Where is Gazelle? Seriously? My fucking God. With me? What? Has Morgana gone mad? Is she talking to herself? What the fuck? What? Yeah. Maybe she's seeing some... Maybe she is seeing something, I don't know. I really do wonder what this is. I really do wonder if this is kind of like a spoken internal monologue. I mean, let's be honest, anything would be possible for Morgana. I wouldn't blame her at all if she's lost her sanity. Yeah, I know, I just don't really understand what this is. Especially because this wasn't really talked about in Morgana's story. This is something totally new. Yeah, you just want to open that fucking cat box. Seriously. Holy fucking shit. Whoa! Oh my god, that's Morgana. Jesus Christ, look at her face. Wow, my god. Jesus. This was kind of left out. I'm surprised that we're only just learning about this, but fucking hell, how cruel is that? Look at how she is just chained up like a fucking animal. I don't know if this is just kind of like a limitation of the anatomy in this photo, but why does it look like she only has one leg? Where is her other one? I think it might just be the anatomy, because there was never anything said about her leg being cut off, but Jesus, look at her. She doesn't even look human with her face, don't you think? God damn. Isn't it interesting? This might be Gazelle. I mean, sure, it's baseless, but at the same time, if this is Gazelle, then I don't think it's baseless. I mean, obviously, it's not baseless from Gazelle's perspective. Of course it would be from Morgana's perspective. Of course. Oh, just look at how much of a wreck she is, and look at how much her, I suppose, just how incoherent she is. But of course, you subject somebody to the most awful and horrifying life conditions, of course. Gazelle knows despair. And isn't it interesting that Gazelle is referring to the story that was told in chapter 1. You're definitely going to have somebody coming for you, but it's not necessarily going to be a dove with parchment. Yeah, I totally agree. Nobody should. I suppose it's interesting. I think that was Gazelle. I really do wonder. Of course you'd think that. Yeah, just totally used. That could be a really bad thing. There is no way that is not Gazelle. But it's interesting to think about the fact that you see somebody who has totally deteriorating mental states, obviously because of the beyond human conditions that she has been subject to. And you see Michel, he's able to contain everything that he thinks inside his head. But Morgana just doesn't have that power, and I don't blame her. God, seeing her in the face and just seeing how bloody everything is weird. It really is. If I'm going to be honest, I'm quite surprised her feet, her foot and her fingers on her hand are intact, and her leg as well. I would have thought there'd be at least some indication of blood there. But I suppose maybe these are quite small parts of the body, and let's be honest here. I mean, especially when Jacopo was taking the blood, and the Lord as well, just prioritizing the most useful parts, the parts that bled the most, because they are either sadistic or want lots of blood, or both. Well, Jacopo is not sadistic, but the other Lord, he sounds like a total psychopath. Oh my fucking god, you are brave for using his actual name. You are brave. Holy shit. Damn. Jesus Christ. Look at her fucking face. I always had perspective of how horrible. Oh yeah, her hands are actually bloody. Of course they are. I always had a perspective of how horrible what Morgana was going through was, but what the fuck? Yeah, that's all you can say. Michelle's gonna do everything he can. He really will. Yeah, God, I really do wonder how she will process this. What's happening to her? She really isn't able to be coherent. Maybe she's just shocked. Had? That's a bit bold. Have, I think you should say. Maybe Morgana thinks she's dead. He will do anything. And good for him. Yeah, and isn't it interesting that contrast between him and Jacopo? He will do anything, absolutely anything for the person he protects. Or, sorry, for the person he wants to protect. Yeah, totally. I don't blame her. It's just a miracle. It really is a miracle. And if anything, it's kind of ironic for her because she's always been doing her acts with an act of, well, with religious intent, I suppose. So it kind of just feels like somebody who looks like the embodiment of an angel coming here and helping you. It really is ironic. And I suppose it's really good that Michelle kind of, he was always shunned as a demonic and cursed person in the beginning of his life, but now he's more like an angel because he is doing the most brilliant things. And let's be honest, not all angels do the best things, so yeah, it's brilliant for Michelle to be able to do this. But she was just saying that we were. What makes her doubt it, I wonder? she just doesn't want to live. She just wants to have release, and I don't blame her after everything she's gone through. Who wouldn't? Let's be honest here, you would have to be inhuman not to want release after something like this. Yeah, fair enough. You've just got to do anything to please her in the short term. Just make her satisfied, yeah. It must be so painful to lie, just to blatantly lie to her, but at the same time, I mean, I'm sorry, but like, anything, just anything goes as long as she can live in a time like this. So I suppose Michelle has gone with the facade that he is an angel, but as a result of that, there's now this problem because if Michelle was an angel, then surely Morgana is going to die, and surely she's going to be released from the world. She die? No, you've got to be fucking serious. You've got to be fucking with me. What? Oh my god, that was not what I was expecting. Oh my god. That's unbelievable. That really is. I'm sorry, but she didn't have her life saved, but she was departed from the world by an angel, by somebody who recognised all of the hard work she had put in. And Michelle, he did a good job lying to her. I'm sorry, but you make somebody die. No, you don't. You, well, somebody dies in your hands and they die happily. From a living hell to this. An absolute living hell was what she was released from, and I suppose she's not being released in hatred, so you have prevented everything that I think he has prevented everything that is going to happen in this story, but at the same time she's not alive, which basically entirely counteracts what we were trying to achieve, which is such a shame. And honestly surprising. I really thought this was just going to be everything going right after us having put so much effort in, but no. But isn't it interesting, I suppose, us making Morgana happy, that was our demise. It really was. No, you did just that. He did the best he possibly could, and isn't it interesting? He did all of this for just a few moments to talk to Morgana. And if I'm going to be honest, I really like the hopelessness, the futility of it. Well, what kind of appears to be really, really futile at the beginning. I think that's such a nice kind of addition, really, and I just wonder what they're going to do with it, to be honest. You are, yeah. I'm sorry, but Michel has done so much. He deserves to think that. Yeah. Well, there is a thing called altering the course of events. And that is exactly what you have done. But let's be honest, I don't really think these people realise just the extent of how awful treatment-wise she has been given, I suppose. I do wonder what has happened. I mean, let's be honest, she's malnourished, she has a decreased amount of blood supply, and also just any basic service, really. Sorry, any basic human need, like sanitation, for example, she has none of it. So no wonder her health was so bad that she was likely to die at any moment. It is honestly a miracle she didn't die before the Harvest Festival, to be honest. Yeah, and isn't it interesting? We've learned all of these people's backstories in pursuit of telling Morgana. But the only thing is, now it's all pointless. Nothing has been achieved on that front. None of these people are going to be able to make amends with her. It was all wishful thinking to begin with, but this is just a real slam in the face. It really is. But I mean, even though that didn't happen, you've still made immense differences to these people's lives. All of these people are going to start anew, especially Mel. You have literally saved Nellie's life. Yeah, totally reasonable question. I wonder if he's going to take everything out on them now. Because he's got right to, he really does. You are so irresponsible. Fair enough. Oh, yeah, Michelle can talk from experience. Somewhere away from the church, preferably. But the only thing is, I was just thinking somewhere nice. You've got to... It can't be a place of memory, because let's be honest, nearly all of the places that Morgana remembers have some sort of trauma associated with them. And you can't do the brothel, obviously. Just go anywhere, just go somewhere completely separated from everything. Fair. You're doing everything you can for her. Yeah, nobody is objecting, and the thing is, Michelle is so powerful that these people, they entirely look up to him now. They will do anything he wants to. He wants them to. And isn't it interesting that he is totally dropping any front that kind of ensures his reputation here? Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's put so well. Yeah, fair enough. What a change of heart. Wow. Fair enough. God, and he is being properly honest. Yeah. Even Yukimasa apologizing. Interesting. I mean, if you're actually talking about physically, no. But emotionally, fair. Because I suppose if it wasn't for Michelle, all of these people saying their regrets, apologising to Morgana and making it so that her soul can possibly have peace in death. Well, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for him. Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that too. Yeah, fair enough. It was all of these people that made it necessary to save Morgana. Fair. Yeah, it's totally reasonable. I mean, you want to be delivered by an angel, sure. You might need to do it no matter how much your right arm hurts. But also, I suppose, yeah, I suppose it's just... I mean, I'm sorry, but if somebody died and then... I get that Jacopo is obviously somebody who really, really has taken the wrong path in life, but at the same time, who would want to be carried by the person that they have been... Well, the person who has basically permitted torture on her. Oh yeah, at least she was able to have said necklace in the end, even if they were only able to give it to her in the worst possible time. Yeah, God, you were doing so much. It just really illustrates how much you care about Morgana. Yeah. I know, isn't that unbelievable? Yeah, I suppose. Now, I really do wonder if we are going to be able to talk to the Morgana of the present, and also what will happen if we can. And also, just about Gazelle, where the hell is she? I believe that she was talking to Morgana there, though. Maybe. Oh yeah. Yeah, your reputation will fall. They are all responsible. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, good for him. Yeah. I suppose it's just something that has been locked up, but now unlocked as a result of Michelle's help. I see that. I like that, yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Oh yeah, yeah. To be honest, I mean, judging by how pale he is, yeah, probably. Yeah, fair enough. Right, well, oh yeah, atonement, interesting. God damn. The fuck? Oh my god. Oh! Why did one image? It only took one fucking image to make me so excited for tomorrow. What the fuck happened there? Oh my god, that's gonna be so cool to see. Oh wow, that was really, really good, and I loved how it turned out in the end. That was really quite nice, and just in general, I'm really quite excited to see what happens now, because I suppose we've had this point. Everything has been leading up to Morgana, and obviously finding out how everyone's going to atone. But what's going to happen now? I really do wonder. Yeah, so it was just really quite interesting to see how Jacopo totally reacted. Well, I suppose at first it was very provocatively, but then he really, really realised his regret, and it just really resurfaced to him that he never wanted to do this in the beginning, and he tried his hardest to do everything to solve what he has done for Morgana. And yeah, God, I love those conversations, and I like that they were all having their farewells, and Jacopo just having nothing to say as well. That was quite funny. Yeah, it's going to be really quite exciting to see what happens next. It was very morbid seeing Morgana's face in that CG. I thought that CG was done so well. All of this was done well, to be honest. I really like this story, and I'm a real fan of Jacopo's story, to be honest. If I'm going to be honest, I just really think this took a very good direction, and I'm happy with it. So, yeah, I wonder how it's going to end. And I do wonder when the ending is going to be, how long it is going to be, because I kind of get the impression that we are only halfway done with chapter 8. Or not, maybe 3/4 of the way done. We've probably still got quite a long way to go. I don't know, I just kind of feel that. Anyway, see you guys next time.